All right. Well, first, Chip, I just love to welcome you to the show, Publishing Profits Podcast.
Thank you. My pleasure. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to talking with you.
Absolutely. You too. So for those of you listening right now who have not met Chip Bell, he is a best-selling author and co-author of more than 20 books. In 2015, Global Gurus ranked him the #1 keynote speaker in the world on customer service for the second year in a row. Chip was a highly decorated infantry unit commander in Vietnam with the elite 82nd Airborne. He's also appeared live on CNBC, CNN, ABC, Fox Business Network, Bloomberg, NPR, and just about every other major network out there as a thought leader in the field of customer service, business, and marketing. So, Chip, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm excited. Looking forward to speaking with you.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go back, to when you first got started with your career in business.
Okay.
Take us back. How did you get started, and how did you get to where you are today as the thought leader in your field?
Good. Well, I'll start with the fact that I had heard that when people go into business for themselves, they starve for the first 2 years. That didn't sound very appealing to me. And so I set a calendar to say, I'm going to take a 2-year planning. I was working for a major corporation. I said, I'm going to take 2 years to get ready for this. And that means I'm going to build the kind of network and the kind of reputation so that once I hang out my shingle, I don't starve for 2 years. I've got clients, I've got work. And so that's how I began. And part of it was conferences, networking. Part of it was giving a lot of free speeches. And part of it was writing. Industry magazines particularly are always looking for articles. And so it's not like getting in an industry specific magazine is a whole lot easier than the Harvard Business Review. And so that's essentially how it began in terms of building a relationship and building a platform. The foundation of what I was seeking to do is to look for 3 components that all would work interdependently and feed each other. One angle is consulting, one angle is speaking and training, and one angle is writing. And so if I could figure out a way that I would have my writing would support my speaking, which would support my consulting and vice versa, then that gave me the marketing platform that I needed to for it to be successfnow.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So you really have those kind of 3 keystones for your business are the writing, speaking, and consulting.
Correct. So awesome. Now most of my work now is, it is not divided equally. There was a time in which I did a lot more consulting than speaking. I've always written a lot. And now I would say more of my time is spent speaking than consulting. So, there's not a third, but they still all feed each other. I still do consulting. But if I looked at my typical month, more of my time and energy is spent giving keynotes or running training classes than they are consulting.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And so, if you had to go back into, the early point in your career when you were just starting out, was there any, gig or writing assignment or article or something out there that happened that just gave you, that leap start to your business that really took off? Or was it kind of a gradual, steady growth over time?
I think it's more gradual. I don't remember any single event or even a few events that I would say this propelled me in a large way. Obviously, probably if there was any of that nature, I think writing a book makes a big difference. You can write articles all day long, but somehow a book carries with it the clout, that hey, I wrote an article in XYZ magazine that carries. And so, writing books, the way I write books, in many ways, I think of them as, you don't sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write a 250-page book. But if you sat down and said, I could probably write 30 articles that I could figure out a way to hook together and create a book. So taking it an article or chapter at a time and is an easy way, so you don't feel like you're being overwhelmed by a book. So that's much of my writing starts off in articles, and then I develop it and embellish on them and grow them and that kind of thing. So anyway, yeah,
that's great advice. When I first started, when I first even started thinking about writing a book, I was like so scared because writing a book seems like such a big deal, but I've been writing blog posts and articles, and that's easy. You write 20 of those and you're done.
I coach a lot of first-time authors, and I say, don't think about a book. Write 10 articles, and then you're kind of halfway there. You're on your way. And so write them out on the same theme so they could be hooked together. Obviously, you wouldn't try to wire together disparate articles, but if you can write on the same theme, you can find a way to weave them together. And so that's a good way to start.
Awesome. So, your niche is really focused on, customer service, and I know you work with a lot of Fortune 100 companies and so forth. How did you select that niche? Was it a passion? Did you see an opportunity in the market? Why did you go after that market?
I loved it. I was interested in it. I'm a consumer, I'm a customer, and I continually saw examples where I go, that could be a lot better. I have an idea about what would make it better. And so I think in many ways, it was an early passion and interest of mine. And I think there is some a lesson there for anyone when someone's starting out, particularly in a new business. I always say, focus on trying to make a difference in something that you deeply care about, something that gets you up early in the morning and keeps you up late at night. That to me is one of the most important energy sources for whatever you do. Is, do I absolutely love, would I do this for free? And that's a good test. Would you do it for free? Obviously you got to feed your family and all of that, but that's kind of how I look at it. I absolutely love, I can't wait to get up in the morning. I don't like sleeping. It's a waste of time. I obviously need to sleep, but to me, it's boring. I can't get anything done when I'm sleeping. So I'm excited to get up early in the morning and work all day long. It's just fun for me. It's not just my, I keep hearing people talk about work-life balance. It's always odd to me why somebody would say work-life, like work is not life.
Yeah.
If work is your hobby, if you absolutely love it, who cares how many, if you put in 14 hours a day doing something that you find great pleasure and joy in, and it makes a difference, why wouldn't you do it? So obviously you have responsibilities to your family and so forth like that, but I don't work around hours.
Absolutely, totally agree. Yeah, I mean, when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life, right? It's like it's all the same thing. It's all, like you said, it's life, it's play, it's fun.
Yeah, all together.
Awesome. So let's talk about then your specialty, customer service, because I think for a lot of small business owners, that's one way you can really set yourself apart, from the competition. I mean, the big companies, you call up a big company, they have like an automated answering service, whereas small businesses, you can, answer the phone, give that personal one-on-one touch.
Yeah.
What are some ways that small business owners, authors, consultants, speakers can provide an extra touch of customer service that can really help them stand out and increase their profits and sales?
Well, particularly small businesses, Tom, I think to me, in many ways, if you're a small business, you've got a huge advantage over a big box or a large corporation. I'd imagine Walmart doesn't know a lot of their customers personally. The senior level of Walmart probably don't know a lot of their customers, except those that might live in their hometown. But you're a small business, you know a lot of your customers. You can create a personalized experience. And I think that how you create that personalization in terms of what you do, how you customize service is something that a large corporation would have much more difficult time doing. And so I think that to me, that's an edge. Second is, you've got a capacity to learn what's important to customers with a much shorter lead time than a large organization. If a Walmart or a Best Buy or Verizon, fill in the blank, is interested in learning what matters most to their customers, by the time they do whatever market research they do, it filters all the way up to the top, gets sanitized, and all the stuff they do with it, and then it gets translated into execution. That's why we think of customer feedback as a rear view mirror. But you're a small business, the timeline between when you learn about a customer's need, requirement, or change, and trends and interests and those kind of things, and when you can execute on that is real short. And so I think that also gives small businesses an edge that a large corporation would never have, or certainly not a lot less of it.
Right, definitely. So you just talked about customizing service. I mean, can you give me some examples of that and how that makes a difference?
Absolutely. I'll give you, and my particular specialty is I work in the area of innovative service. How do you create an experience that's unique, that's different, that's unusual, that's out of the ordinary, that's not like just good service. I mean, a lot of organizations focus on how can we make service good. I focus on how do you create an experience that people want to tell other people about. We don't talk about good service, but we sure talk about unique service when it takes your breath away. And that's kind of what I work with organizations around. And I'll give you an example of a small business and how they do that. My wife bought a new car, loves this new car, traded in her old car and got a new car. A week after she had it, she turned on the radio for the very first time and discovered they had programmed in her radio stations from her trade-in and just let her find it. Now, what do you think she talks about, the car or the radio? She talks about that radio and how, now they didn't take a long time, but some service tech, when she got her new car, said, why don't we program in her radio stations from her trade-in, same brand, and just let her find it. And so it's the little things like that that I think can ramp up the reputation of an organization in a way good service can. And that's what I work with organizations. How do you discover these unique ways? How do you discover this? How do you create a culture where employees focus on being not just generous, that's important, but ingenious in what they do? Because the challenge we face today is the concept of value added, meaning taking what the customer expects and add more, has gotten expensive. And besides, each time you add more, the expectations of the customers go up with it as well. What I like to help organizations focus on is not value added, but value unique. What can you do that it's ingenious, not just generous? Because there's obviously an economic limit to generosity. But we have unlimited ways to be creative and innovative and inventive in what we do. And that's to me in a fun area. It's an exciting area. It also differentiates organizations from others in their marketplace.
That's awesome. And that's such a great example. Yeah. I mean, that tech could literally do it in 2 minutes, Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time, but and it creates that massive word of mouth where your wife's just telling everybody the story.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're selling cars from it, right?
Exactly. And it's taking time to do those little things that I can go on and give you lots and lots of examples, but I think it's looking for ways to create that unique, personalized, what I call monogram service. It's got my name on it, and that it's done just for me. And there, the whole introduction in the service world of what I call whimsy, a sense of fun, gaiety, a sense of unique and unusual. I love a small chain, not like a Marriott, but the Kempton Group is a big fan. I'm a big fan of theirs. I stay in with Kempton property anytime I'm in a city that has one of their properties. And the Kempton Group, I particularly stay in Hotel Monaco's, do a lot of things that are unique. Most companies, most hotels put a mint on your pillow. That's pretty boring. You don't tweet about that. They put something different on your pillow every time. You never know what's going to be on your pillow. The bathrobe in the closet is not boring white, it's leopard or zebra print, and they've got a yoga mat in there. And they always make sure, if you like it, they can arrange to have a goldfish put in your room, and all they ask is that you give it a name. And so it's all looking for all kind of little, what can we do today to make that customer go, whoa, look at that, that's different. And so I think working with organizations, helping them create that kind of innovative approach is fun for me. And that's what I talk about in my speeches. How do you do that? What are the techniques required in creating that ingenious or innovative experience?
That's awesome. So, I love the, kind of the idea behind everything you're doing here is you're creating like such a unique experience that people they remember it, they talk about it, they tweet about it, they share it on Facebook and so forth.
Yeah.
But is that just is that because of social media? In other words, since Facebook and Twitter have gotten so big, is this strategy, only really becoming prevalent now because people can share so much, or is this kind of?
I think it's always been there. I think it's always been there, but I think now the reach of social media has amplified it, has ramped it up, and so now people learn about it. They're much more powerful. They're much more influential in the marketplace now. I read somewhere that word of mouth, so to speak, has 5 times the reach that word of mouth does. And so again, the social media has created a way for customers to reach far more people far more quickly than just the word of mouth talking to a neighbor over the backyard. And so I think that has made those unique experiences, because they can become viral so quickly, much more powerful as a way to influence the marketplace.
That's awesome. So I know you got a ton of stories. I'd like to hear a couple more because I think, just sharing these ideas from other businesses and entrepreneurs of things that they've done that are really cool and innovative can help us, stir our creativity.
Absolutely. And I think the things that are most innovative, Tom, are the kind of things that are simple. And I'll give you an example. One of my favorite examples, I was staying in a Park Inn, and a Park Inn's not an upscale hotel, but I was staying there. I was giving a keynote, and I had breakfast in the little restaurant there off the lobby in the hotel. This was in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. And Sandy, the woman who waited on me, great waitress, was very happy, very upbeat. I had a really, really great breakfast. And she brought me the newspaper, all the stuff you'd like it to do. Great breakfast. I got the check. And as soon as I got the check, she brought me a go cup of coffee fixed just the way I like my coffee. And I said to her, thank you so much, Sandy. I can't tell you how much I need this extra cup of coffee, complimentary cup of coffee to go. And then she said, it is our gift to you. Now, the concept of a complimentary cup of coffee is value added. But when she pronounced it as our gift to you, it changed it to value unique. And that's what I'm saying, adding that sort of unique aspect to it. I think that's an example and there are lots more. It's looking for, again, all of those unusual things. I ask people when I work with them, think about the experience you're creating for your customer through all the senses. We obviously know when we go in a restaurant, it's going to be about the smell and the taste, but what about the sound? What about the touch? What about, what does the eye candy look like? It's looking at it through all the senses. And oftentimes you discover, oh my gosh, here's another opportunity to make this different and a unique experience for our customers. It's looking for ways to add to make it different. I'll give you an example. I was staying in the Fairmont Pacific Rim Hotel in Vancouver. Downtown Vancouver has a gorgeous view of the river, the sea nearby. Beautiful hotel. This is a new hotel. It's very upscale, and I was working there, and the room was what you would call industrial strength. It was a great room, but lots of glass and chrome, and a huge work desk that had all the plug-ins you'd want, and all of the electronic tools you'd want, plug-ins for everything here. And so it is very modern, but on the desk was an antique kaleidoscope and an antique yo-yo in the original box, and a box of pickup sticks. Now, it was totally very colorful, but it was totally out of the ordinary. You would not expect a kaleidoscope, an old kaleidoscope, to be sitting on your desk, or a yo-yo, an antique yo-yo on that desk in the original box. That's the kind of sensory addition to the experience, that makes it feel, in this case, makes you feel like old-fashioned home. It's something more. It's like the room was reaching out and hugging me when I walked in the door. It's thinking like that, helping organizations think like that and see their experience world through a whole different set of lens. That's the fun part of my job. Mm-hmm. It's not just me coming up with that. It's giving them the way and the techniques and the culture for them to do that.
Absolutely. I love that story about the coffee and how the lady said, it's our gift to you. And, just thinking about that, if a restaurant just had a sign that says free coffee, with your meal, it'd be like, okay, whatever.
Whatever.
Free coffee,
exactly.
Right?
There's nothing.
But if they hand deliver it to you and say, this is our gift to you, and it adds, like you said, that whole personal dimension to it. You feel like you're really special because there's not a big sign that says it's for everybody. It's just for you.
Oh yeah, and I gave her a tip bigger than my check. It's and you say, wait a minute, they're giving away a lot of free coffee. How much does that cost? But it's not about that. At the end of the day, yes, it costs them to get a free cup of coffee, but the return and the word of mouth that goes with that more than outweighs it. And it's looking for those. That's why I say it's the simple things. We love Cracker Jacks, and Cracker Jacks has been around for over 100 years, and we love Cracker Jacks not because it was great caramelized, molasses flavored popcorn and peanuts. It was that free prize inside, which was economically worthless, but emotionally priceless. It's that little thing. And I always say, what's your free prize inside? What's the little thing you can add? What's the kind of unique aspect that makes it special, like the goldfish in your room? And all we ask is that you give it a name. So I show up at the Hotel Monaco the next time, and the front desk person says, you want Trixie to come up and spend the night with you again? You know, because I'd named my goldfish Trixie, and I actually had a little name tag that went with it. Well, how do they know it's Trixie? They're all guppies. They all look alike. But the point is, there's Hotel Monaco saying, what if we did this? What if we tried this? It may not always work, but it creates that kind of memorable experience that customers can't wait to tell somebody. I mean, we've all stayed in hotels where they had the wine and cheese party at 6 o'clock in the lobby. But how about if you had that party and you invited a palm reader or a mime or a magician to attend along with you? That changed the whole nature of it. And again, it's thinking like that organizations like that tend to do.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. So I'm wondering if you have any ways to apply this kind of customer service, you know, unique approach to things like email or customer service, where, you know, maybe you're not dealing with someone face to face, like at a party or a hotel, but maybe you're just emailing people or on social media or on the phone. Is there any ways that you can really change those kind of just ordinary, bland, boring customer service experience into something awesome?
Yeah, I would suggest that everybody has an email. Does it have what's the picture look like on your email? That's one thing I'd say. Or what does the font look like? Does the font look like plain vanilla, you know, Times Roman like everybody sees? Or is it a kind of a unique font that's your signature, perhaps, font? You know, it's looking for, do you add little special quotes to your emails that people go, oh, I like this quote. Every time I get one, I get a, you know, quote of the day. Mike, you know, it's easy to go into your signature block on your email on Outlook and add in a new quote every day or a new picture. You know, it's taking the time to say, what can I do to tailor make this unique, make this different? You know, is the background boring white, or is it got some shade to it? Is the font type just plain old ordinary black like everybody else, or is it purple? So what I'm suggesting is, you know, if you're looking for a way to use things like email to say, I can do this differently, there are a myriad of ways to do that. But again, at the end, it needs to fit whatever your brand is, particularly if you're a small business, if you're an author or whatever. You need to think through it from the standpoint of, what's the brand I want? What's the image I want? What's the, you know, what is the look and feel that I want? And I need to make sure whatever I do is congruent with that brand.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, first, I mean, you really want to get clear on what's your brand, because you wouldn't want to have like some wild like pink email if
it doesn't fit your brand. But it might it might fit your brand. You know, it might be all about mine. For example, is my color is all about purple. You know, I like purple because it has a regal kind of sense to it. It has a, you know, it has a great history about why we think purple is unique. Why was it worth a great deal years ago? And at one time it was worth, purple was more of the dye. Purple was worth more than gold because it was so rare. And there's a lot of, you can just Google it and figure out. But again, it is a different color for me. And so choosing colors, choosing looks, having a website that has a particular look and feel is absolutely critical for a small business. Having a web presence that's interactive, having a web presence that's always changing, that's, you know, that not only has great stickiness, but has the kind of quality about it that people want to come back time and again, as opposed to, well, I've already been on that website, I don't need to ever go back again. You know, you're always looking for making it unique and different, and that not just a billboard. And so I think thinking through that, and again, you know, as an author, I'm always thinking about marketing and publicity and how do you promote what you do? Because no matter how great and fun your stuff is, if nobody knows about it, it's not gaining you anything. And so again, the promotion side, particularly for the authors, the promotion side and how you create great publicity for what you're doing and how you're doing it is absolutely central to having a presence in the marketplace.
Absolutely. And so how do you do that? I mean, how have you done that personally? You know, gotten more publicity for every time you launch a new book and so forth?
Well, I've got I'm fortunate in that I've got a great publicity team that I have, let's call it on retainer, because I've been working with them for almost 3 years. And they don't just they don't just come on board around a book launch. They have, but then they work with me throughout the year, and because when you launch a new book, it's about the book, but the rest of the time it's about your brand. And so Weaving Influence is a group I work with, and has been terrific for me in terms of helping me promote my brand, promote the books. And they do that not only through obviously social media, but also through traditional media. I did an interview for Fast Company, and it was in Fast Company this morning. I had an article in Huffington Post yesterday. It's that continuous looking for ways to say, what can I do to get a quote? What can I do to get a reference? What can I do to somebody to plug the book? How do you do that? And again, I think working with a great team is one way to do it. And I do it a lot of it like myself. I don't believe as an author, you don't turn your publicity over to a publicity firm. The best way to do it is to work as a partnership. I mean, they may write a lot of tweets for me, because I tweet 6-8 times a day. They may write a lot of tweets for me and load those in so they keep following it when I need them to. But they don't write the blogs. I write the blogs, and we have a lot of them. Spending time and energy to network to get your blogs and stuff on. And you've written about this. You've written books about this. But getting guest posts in other sites, because here again, when you're thinking about selling anything, a book, you don't want to be limited to your own community. If you could only sell your stuff to only the people you knew, it'd be probably personally knew, it'd be a small neighborhood. But so the whole concept is, how can I use other people's communities, other people's neighborhoods, so to speak? And again, that's the power of social media, enables you to reach beyond your own network to their network. And so the whole viral effect that comes with that. But I think it happens because you work hard to create a contribution that makes a difference, that people want to read. You write good stuff. You spend a lot of time making sure it's well written, and it is on something that is hot, that's important, that customers value. Look for ways to do stuff around themes. We just had Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Well, there's a huge opportunity to write a lot about customer service around those. We've got Thanksgiving that's just passed. There's a great opportunity to write a lot of stuff about Thanksgiving. Now we got Christmas coming up. So what I'm saying is, look for saying, what are the themes that I can write around that are associated with holidays or special events or that kind, and those are more likely to get picked up by the media. And so, ProfNet, Hayro, all of those, there are many, many outlets for people who are looking for content for pieces they're doing as a freelancer, get plugged into all of those networks and respond to it. So again, that's, I could go on for hours and hours about it, but it's learning to say, how do I figure out a way to create a discipline along with people who can help me to make sure your name's out there all the time, not just around a book, but all the time. That's the key.
Absolutely. Totally agree. So I know you mentioned networking a couple times now. What are some of your favorite either events to network at, or strategies or cool little tips to make networking more effective?
Well, to me, it is, it's more, it used to be all around conferences. I'd go to I go to some conferences now, but usually that's when I'm speaking. I go to a lot of conferences because I speak to a lot of conferences. And so I don't just use those as an opportunity for me. I'll give you some examples. I don't use those just as an opportunity for me to go speak to them and then say, okay, I just spoke. Thank you very much. Let me get my taxi and go to the next town. I spend time going to the expo, introducing myself, meeting a lot of people in the expo hall while I'm there. And I was a speaker, but I also want to make connections. I also find out what are the magazines, the publications for this particular industry. You're speaking to the America's Plumbing Association. I just made that one up. But you're speaking to the keynote in the American Plumbers Association. I bet they've got an industry-specific magazine for that industry that that audience reads. Why not find out and go find their booth and say, hey, I'm Chip Bell. I'd love to write for your magazine, and so, and they go, well, yeah, thanks. Well, I'll send you something in the next couple of weeks and let you take a look at it. Well, all of a sudden now you've got a connection. Now you can get an article in that magazine, and now you're reaching. So the next time some plumbers group is looking for a speaker, you can send them 4 or 5 articles you've written in their industry's magazine. It gets you a leg up in your ability to get to nail that, to get that particular keynote. And they may say, a big company, plumbing company is there. They, you know, I read your article, I heard your speech. How about come and work with us? We need some consulting help. So again, as we started, looking for ways they all feed each other, I think is a key. With the outreach that's collaborative, not just focused on one thing. But again, that's the way I network. I say, who's here? There's particular organizations that have representatives. I can get the list of the participants and registrants that I want to connect with while I'm here. When I started off, you know, I would go specifically to net. That was my primary goal before I was doing keynotes, before I went into consulting. I said, well, let me go to a conference and there's specific people I want to network. There's particular breakout sessions I want to go to because I can meet the person who's running that to build that network, to build that connection. So the more, even if they're ultimately going to be your competitors, you know, building that relationship with them is equally important because, again, most of the time, most of us that are in this field, you know, a lot of the other people who we compete with, and many of us work collaboratively. You know, I know a lot of people that I compete with for a keynote, but I do a webinar and I bring them in and I'm in on their websites, that, you know, that kind of thing. We write for each other, guest blogs on each other's websites. And so again, it is building that partnership, that connection, that relationship. And I think it's absolutely key. It opens opportunities otherwise you wouldn't have.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And I love what you said, you know, about working with your competitors, because I think that's one thing a lot of, you know, new business owners, especially authors and consultants, they don't really get that. They think like, oh, I'm competing, so we shouldn't work together. But, you know, they already have your target customers like on an email list, on their platform, like they're just waiting for you to talk to them.
Yeah, and I you know, I guess it's my unusual way of looking at it. It all belongs to the universe. I don't ever worry about people stealing stuff. Let them steal it. They probably need it really bad. So let them have it. You know, I don't worry about being protective. I don't worry about being, oh gosh, they're going to rip off my stuff and take it for theirs. You know, let them have it if they need it that bad. You know, because I'm busy creating the next thing. So again, I think building networks. You know, here's a good example. You know, one of my competitors is Dennis Snow. I do a keynote and they come up to me and Dennis and I are good friends, just as an example. Shep Hyken's a good friend of mine. He's good. Somebody comes up, we loved your speech. We want to bring somebody in next year. Who would you recommend? Well, who am I going to recommend? You ought to bring in Dennis Snow. You ought to bring in Shep Hyken. So we, you know, and then Shep, the same thing. He does a speech, or Dennis, they give a speech on customer service. Well, who should we get next year? Well, you might get Chip Bell. And so we recommend each other. And so it's you know, again, I think the concept of you're competing, yes, but you're not competing, you know, you're competing with friends. You know, it's like competing together on a basketball team. It's when you were in high school. They're still your buddies. You know, they're still your friends. And if you build strong partnerships with them, you know, we all have a sort of professional integrity that says we'll take care of each other. So I think it's important.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that metaphor. It's kind of like the playground in childhood. You know, you're all just friends hanging out, having fun together, and everybody wins together because, you know, everyone's at the top of their game. You know, it's not like you're recommending people who don't do good work. You know, like you hang out with people who do the best work and you aspire to that level and you all help each other, you know, rise to to meet that challenge.
Exactly. Yeah, the people you competed with in high school on the basketball court, at the end of the game, you're still your friends. And that's the way I look at it in terms of our business as well.
Awesome. Well, Chip, you shared some awesome info and creative ideas with us. I really, really appreciate it. Before you go, tell us where people can find out more about you and the work that you're doing.
Great. The easiest way is my website, chipbell.com. That's a name, the website name I can remember. And that's, you know, most of my books are on there. You know, I've got blogs that are on there constantly. There's a lot of resources, as I mentioned, that are on there. So that's probably the best way. Just go to chipbell.com and take it from there.
Yeah, awesome. And by the way, you're listening right now, I do highly recommend the blog. I just read like the last 6 articles you wrote, Chip, on customer service, and they're all great. They're all just great snippets of ideas and stories and case studies you can use immediately to implement in your business to just have much better.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Really good stuff.
Good.
Yeah. So thanks so much for being here, Chip. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. Take care.
All right. Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye.